I woke up in a hospital bed surrounded by alphas who weren't mine. The first thing I noticed wasn't their faces. It was their scent. 3 distinct threads of cedar, smoke, and winter rain, so strong they drowned out the antiseptic sting of the room. My head pounded. My chest ached where a bond should have been, but wasn't anymore. Because Kang Minjun had ripped it away 3 days ago. The machines around me beeped softly. My wrists were wrapped in gauze. I didn't remember cutting them. I didn't remember much after Minjun walked out of our apartment in Seattle with his bags, and that cold, final look on his face. "You're awake." The voice came from my left. Deep. Careful. I turned my head slowly and saw him. The first alpha sat in the chair closest to my bed. His hair was black and fell just past his eyes. Sharp jaw, broad shoulders that filled out his coat like he was carved from stone. But it was his eyes that made my breath catch. Dark brown, almost black, and they looked at me like I was something fragile he didn't want to break. "My name is Seojun," he said quietly. "You collapsed outside a coffee shop on Pine Street. I brought you here." I blinked. My throat was too dry to answer. He reached for the water cup on the table beside me, but before he could hand it over, another voice cut through the room. "Let him breathe, Hayoung. You're crowding him." I looked toward the window. Another alpha leaned against the wall there, arms crossed, taller than Seojun, leaner. His hair was a dark auburn that caught the afternoon light, and his expression was unreadable. Cold, maybe, or just guarded. "I'm Hajun," he said without moving. "We've been here since last night." Last night. I tried to piece together what that meant, but my thoughts were sluggish. My body felt heavy, like I'd been underwater too long. "And I'm Park Jiho." The third alpha stood near the door, younger than the other 2, maybe mid-20s. His face was softer, rounder, with a small beauty mark under his left eye. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. There was something cautious in the way he held himself, like he was ready to leave if I asked him to. "We're not here to scare you," Jiho added gently. "We just wanted to make sure you were okay." I finally found my voice. It came out rough and broken. "Why?" Seojun's gaze dropped to my wrists, the gauze, the faint stains underneath. "Because no one should be alone after what you went through." My chest tightened. How did they know? How could they possibly know what Minjun did to me? "You talked in your sleep," Hajun said from the window, answering the question I hadn't asked. His tone was flat, but there was something underneath it, something that sounded like anger held back. "You said his name, over and over." I closed my eyes. Shame burned hotter than the pain in my wrists. Minjun. My first alpha. My first everything. The man who marked me under a full moon in the woods outside Tacoma and swore he'd never let me go. The same man who looked at me 2 weeks ago and said, "I can't do this anymore. You're too much, Haneul. I need someone stronger." Someone stronger. As if love was something you measured in how little you needed. "I didn't mean to bother anyone," I whispered. "You didn't," Seojun said firmly. "And you're not a bother." I opened my eyes and looked at him. Really looked at him. There was something in his expression that made my stomach twist. Not pity. Not even sympathy. It was something heavier, like he understood. "We're from the Silver Ridge Pack," Jiho said, stepping closer to the bed. "North of Seattle. And we've been looking for someone like you for a long time." I frowned. Someone like me? Hajun finally moved away from the window. He walked to the foot of my bed and stared down at me with those unreadable eyes. "An Omega who's been through hell and didn't break." The words hit me like a punch to the ribs. "I did break," I said quietly. "That's why I'm here." "No." Seojun leaned forward, and his scent rolled over me. Cedar and warmth, and something that made my wolf stir for the first time in days. "You survived." That's not the same thing as breaking. I didn't know what to say. My mind was spinning. 3 alphas I'd never met were sitting in my hospital room, talking to me like they knew me, like they'd been waiting for me. "Why are you really here?" I asked. The 3 of them exchanged a glance. It was brief, but I caught it. Some silent conversation passing between them. Jiho smiled again, softer this time. Because we want to offer you something. What? Seojun's voice dropped lower. Almost a whisper. A bond. A real one. With all three of us. My heart stopped. You're insane, I breathed. Hajun's lips twitched. It might have been a smirk. Maybe. But we're serious. The machines beeped louder. Or maybe that was just my pulse hammering in my ears. I stared at them, one by one. Seojun, who looked at me like I was worth protecting. Hajun, who stood like a blade waiting to be drawn. Jiho, who smiled like he was trying not to hope too hard. And all I could think was, why me? Before I could ask, the door opened. A nurse stepped in, clipboard in hand, and froze when she saw the three alphas crowded around my bed. Visiting hours are over, she said, recovering quickly. Seojun stood. So did Jiho. Hajun just tilted his head slightly, his gaze still locked on mine. We'll be back tomorrow, Seojun said. If you'll let us. I didn't answer. I couldn't. They left one by one, their scents fading slowly, and the room felt colder without them. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. 3 rival alphas. A bond. A choice. And somewhere in the back of my thoughts, Minjun's voice echoed. You're too much. Maybe I was. But maybe that wasn't the problem. The nurse checked my vitals. Her hands were efficient, clinical. She didn't ask about the 3 men who'd just walked out. Maybe she'd seen stranger things in a Seattle hospital. Maybe she just didn't care. I barely heard her when she said I could go home tomorrow. Home. The word felt hollow. I didn't have a home anymore. Minjun and I had shared that apartment for 2 years, and when he left, he took everything that mattered. The lease was in his name, the furniture, the life we built. All I had was a duffel bag of clothes, and nowhere to go. The nurse left. The door clicked shut. Silence pressed against my ears. I turned my head toward the window where Hajun had stood. His scent still clung to the air there. Smoke and something darker. Something that made my wolf pace restlessly under my skin. I shouldn't have been able to smell him this clearly. Not through the suppressants I'd been taking for months. Not through the hollow ache where Minjun's mark used to burn. But I could. All 3 of them. Cedar. Smoke. Winter. Rain. My hands curled into the thin hospital sheets. My chest felt tight. Too tight. Like something inside me was waking up after being buried alive. I hated it. I hated that my body responded to them when it should have been broken. When I should have been too numb to feel anything at all. 3 alphas. A bond. What kind of insane proposal was that? Bonds didn't work that way. You found your mate. One person. One scent that called to yours. One mark that burned hotter than anything else in the world. Minjun had been that for me, and he walked away like I was nothing. I pressed the heels of my palms against my eyes. The pressure helped. A little. Enough to keep the tears from falling again. I was so tired of crying. So tired of feeling like my chest had been cracked open and left to bleed. A soft knock pulled me back. I dropped my hands. The door opened slowly, and I expected the nurse again. Maybe a doctor. It wasn't. Seojun stood in the doorway, one hand braced against the frame. He looked at me like he was checking to make sure I was still breathing. You came back, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. I told you I would. Visiting hours are over. His mouth curved slightly. Not quite a smile. I'm good at breaking rules when it matters. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The room felt smaller with him in it. Or maybe I just felt smaller. He moved like water, smooth and deliberate, until he was standing beside my bed again. Why? I asked. Why what? Why does it matter? My throat burned. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Seojun tilted his head. His dark eyes searched mine, and I couldn't look away. There was something magnetic about him, something that made my pulse trip over itself. You're right, he said quietly. I don't know you, not yet. But I know what it feels like to be rejected by someone who was supposed to protect you. The air left my lungs. He crouched down beside the bed so we were eye level, close enough that his scent wrapped around me like a blanket. Cedar, warmth, safety I didn't trust. I know what it's like to think you're not enough, he continued. His voice was soft, but every word landed like a blade. To believe that if you were just stronger, or quieter, or different, maybe they wouldn't have left. My hands trembled. I pressed them flat against the mattress. How do you know that? I whispered. Because I've been there. His gaze didn't waver. And I'm telling you right now, Haneul, you are enough. You always were. Hearing my name from his mouth did something to me. Something I didn't want to name. My wolf stirred again, pressing against the walls I'd built to keep it quiet. You don't know what you're talking about, I said, but the words came out weak. Maybe not. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His fingers brushed against my wrist, just above the gauze. His touch was warm, careful. But I know what I see. And I see someone worth fighting for. My breath hitched. You can't just say things like that, I said. My voice cracked. You can't walk in here and act like you can fix me. I'm not trying to fix you. His thumb traced a slow circle over my pulse point. I felt it everywhere. I'm trying to show you that you're not broken. I pulled my hand back. The loss of his touch felt like cold water. You need to leave, I said. Seojun didn't move. He stayed crouched there, watching me with those impossible eyes. Eyes that saw too much. Tell me you don't feel it, he said. Feel what? The pull. His voice dropped lower, rougher. Tell me, you don't smell me the same way I smell you. Tell me your wolf isn't clawing to get closer right now. My heart slammed against my ribs. I couldn't tell him that, because it would be a lie. My wolf was awake, alive. For the first time since Minjun destroyed our bond, I felt something other than emptiness, and it terrified me. It doesn't matter what I feel, I said. I can't do this again. Then don't. Seojun stood slowly. He didn't look angry, just patient, like he had all the time in the world. Don't do anything. Just let us prove it to you. Prove what? That you deserve more than what he gave you. Before I could answer, he turned and walked to the door. His hand rested on the handle, but he paused, looked back at me over his shoulder. We'll be here tomorrow morning, he said. When they discharge you. And we'll take you somewhere safe. I don't need you to save me. His lips curved again. This time, it was definitely a smile. Small, sad, real. Good, he said. Because we're not here to save you, Haneul. We're here to choose you. The door closed. I sat there in the dark, his scent still thick in the air, my pulse thundering in my ears. And for the first time in 3 days, I didn't feel completely alone. I felt afraid, because part of me wanted to believe him. I pressed my fist against my chest, right where the phantom ache of Minjun's mark still burned. It shouldn't have hurt anymore. The bond was severed. Clean break. That's what the pack doctor told me when I went in 2 days after Minjun left. But it still burned. And now 3 new scents were trying to carve their way into the space he left behind. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. Sleep didn't come. I lay there staring at the ceiling tiles, counting the cracks in the plaster. 43, 44, 45. My mind kept circling back to Seojun's words. We're here to choose you. Choose. Like I was something worth picking. Like I wasn't the Omega who got discarded because he felt too much, needed too much, loved too much. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. I reached for it slowly. The screen lit up. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. It's Jiho. Seojun gave me your number. I hope that's okay. I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Unknown. I know you're probably scared. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Unknown. You don't have to decide anything tonight. Or tomorrow. Or ever. If you don't want to. We just want you to know you have options. That's all. My throat tightened. I typed back before I could stop myself. Me. Why me? The response came immediately. Because your scent called to all three of us at the same time, and that's never happened before. I dropped the phone. It clattered against the table. My hands were shaking again. Scent compatibility was rare. Finding one alpha who matched your frequency was hard enough. But three? At the same time? That didn't happen. It couldn't happen. My phone buzzed again. Jiho, get some rest, Haneul. We'll see you in the morning. I didn't respond. I turned the phone face down and pulled the blanket up to my chin, even though the room wasn't cold. But I was. Cold in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. The hours crawled by. I drifted in and out of something that wasn't quite sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Minjun's face. The way he looked at me that last morning. Not with anger. That would have been easier. He looked at me with exhaustion, like loving me had drained every ounce of energy he had. I can't keep doing this, he'd said, setting his coffee mug down on the counter. I need space to breathe, Haneul. And you don't give me that. I'd stood there in the kitchen, frozen. I thought you liked that I felt things deeply. I did. He wouldn't look at me. But it's too much now. I feel like I'm drowning. Then teach me how to be different. That's when he finally met my eyes. And I saw it. The decision was already made. You can't change who you are, he said quietly. And I can't keep pretending it's enough for me. He walked out 20 minutes later. I'd sat on the kitchen floor for 3 hours after that. Just sat there, breathing, trying to remember how. A sound pulled me back to the present. Footsteps in the hallway outside my room. Too heavy to be a nurse. Too deliberate. The door opened. Hajun stepped inside. No knock, no warning. Just walked in like he owned the space. He closed the door behind him and leaned against it, arms crossed. His auburn hair caught the dim light from the machines. You're supposed to be resting, he said. So are you, I shot back. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. I don't sleep much. Neither do I. I know. He pushed off the door and moved closer. Each step was measured, controlled, like a predator deciding whether to approach or retreat. Your heart rate spikes every 45 minutes. The monitors are loud. Are you stalking me? I'm in the waiting room. He stopped at the foot of my bed. Seojun went home. Jiho's asleep in his car. Someone needed to stay. I didn't ask you to. No, you didn't. His eyes locked onto mine. Dark. Sharp. Unreadable. But here I am anyway. I sat up slowly. The movement made my head swim, but I ignored it. What do you want? I want to know why you're fighting this so hard. Fighting what? Us. He gestured loosely between himself and the space where Seojun had stood earlier. The bond. The pull. All of it. Because I don't know you. You didn't know him either. Hajun's voice went cold. Not really. And look how that turned out. Anger flared hot in my chest. You don't get to talk about him. Why not? He leaned forward, bracing his hands on the footboard. Because the truth hurts? Because you're still defending someone who threw you away? Get out. No. I said get out. And I said no. Hajun's scent rolled over me. Smoke and something bitter. Something that made my teeth ache. You want to know the difference between us and him? We don't run when things get hard. We don't break bonds because someone feels too deeply. We stay. You don't know that. My voice cracked. You don't know what you'd do if you actually had to deal with me. With all of this, I gestured at myself. At the bandages, at the broken mess, sitting in this hospital bed. Try me. The words hung in the air between us. A challenge. A dare. I'm not a project, I said quietly. I'm not something you fix because it makes you feel good about yourselves. Hajun's expression shifted. Something softer moved behind his eyes. Just for a second. You think that's what this is? He asked. I don't know what this is. Then, let us show you. Why do you even care? The question ripped out of me before I could stop it. Why does it matter so much? You could have any omega you wanted. Why chase after one who's already broken? Hajun straightened. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was quieter than I'd heard it. Because I know what it's like to be left behind, he said. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Especially not someone who smells like home. My breath caught. Home. He turned and walked back to the door. Paused with his hand on the handle. Get some sleep, Haneul, he said without looking back. We'll be here when you wake up. Whether you want us to be or not. The door clicked shut. I sat there in the dark, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. And I realized something terrifying. I wanted them to stay. I hated that I wanted them to stay. I hated it so much. My chest ached with it. Wanting things had only ever hurt me. Wanting Minjun to love me the way I loved him. Wanting to be enough. Wanting to matter. And here I was again. Wanting. I pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. The pressure grounded me. Reminded me I was still here. Still breathing. Still stupidly. Dangerously alive. The darkness behind my eyelids shifted. Gray light crept through the window. Morning. I hadn't slept. Not really. Just drifted through fragments of consciousness while my wolf paced restless circles inside me. It wanted out. Wanted to run. Wanted to chase those 3 scents until it understood why they felt like safety and danger wrapped into one. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. The door opened before I could answer. A different nurse this time. Older. She smiled at me while checking the clipboard in her hands. Good morning, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Fine, I lied. She moved around the bed, efficient and practiced. Checked my vitals. Changed my bandages. Her touch was gentle, but impersonal. Clinical. Doctor cleared you for discharge, she said. You have someone picking you up? The question hit like a fist to the stomach. I didn't. I had no one. Minjun was gone. My parents lived in Portland, and we hadn't spoken in 6 months. Not since I told them about the bond and they said I was too young to tie myself to an alpha. They'd been right. I can call a cab, I said. She gave me a look that said she didn't believe me but wouldn't push. Get dressed. I'll start the paperwork. She left. The door swung shut with a soft click. I sat there, staring at the small plastic bag on the chair beside my bed. My clothes from 3 days ago. Jeans. A hoodie. Everything smelled like rain and fear and the pavement where I'd collapsed. I didn't want to put them on. I didn't want to leave this room and face whatever came next. But staying wasn't an option. I forced myself to stand. My legs trembled. Weak from lying down too long. From not eating. From the weight of everything pressing against my ribs. I dressed slowly. Each movement felt heavy. Wrong. Like my body belonged to someone else. The door opened again. I turned, expecting the nurse. Seojun stood in the doorway. Jiho was right behind him. Both of them looked like they'd been awake all night. Seojun's hair was messier than before. Jiho had dark circles under his eyes. We brought coffee, Jiho said, holding up a cardboard tray. And breakfast. The good kind. Not hospital food. I stared at them. How did you know I was being discharged? We asked, Seojun said simply. He stepped inside, and his scent filled the space between us. Cedar and warmth and something that made my wolf whine. We told you we'd be here. I didn't think you meant it. We don't say things we don't mean. He moved closer. Set a paper bag on the table beside my bed. Eat something. Then we'll take you wherever you need to go. I don't need you to take me anywhere. Where are you planning to go? Jiho asked. His voice was soft. Careful. Like he already knew the answer. I didn't respond, because I didn't have one. Seojun's eyes searched mine. You don't have to tell us. But you also don't have to do this alone. I'm fine alone. You collapsed on a street corner 3 days ago. Hajun's voice cut through from the hallway. He appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. His hair was pulled back, and he looked exhausted. Angry. Worried. That's not fine. That's none of your business. It became our business the second your scent hit us. He pushed off the doorframe and walked in. The room felt smaller, with all three of them inside. Smaller and warmer, and too full of emotions I didn't want to name. Like it or not, Haneul, you're tied to us now. And we don't leave our people behind. I'm not your people. Not yet. Seojun's voice was steady. Certain. But you could be. The nurse returned before I could argue. She looked at the three alphas crowding my tiny hospital room and raised an eyebrow. Family? Yes, Seojun said, without hesitation. I opened my mouth to correct him. Closed it. What was the point? She handed me a folder of discharge papers. Explained medications I wasn't going to take. Told me to follow up with my doctor in a week. I nodded through all of it, barely hearing the words. When she left, the silence in the room was deafening. Come with us, Jiho said quietly. Just for today. You don't have to decide anything. You don't have to stay. Just let us make sure you're safe. Why does it matter so much to you? The question came out sharper than I intended. Because you matter. Seojun stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I know you don't believe that right now. But it's true. My throat closed. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Hajun moved to my other side. Not touching. Just there. Solid and real and impossible to ignore. One day, he said. Give us one day. If you still want to leave after that, we'll take you wherever you want to go. No questions. I looked between the three of them. Seojun with his steady presence, Jiho with his careful hope, Hajun with his raw honesty. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run, to protect what was left of my heart, to not let anyone close enough to destroy me again. But I was so tired, tired of fighting, tired of hurting, tired of being alone in a city that felt too big and too cold without someone to hold on to. One day, I whispered. Seojun's shoulders relaxed. Jiho smiled, soft and genuine. Hajun just nodded, like he'd known I'd say yes all along. One day, Seojun repeated. He picked up the paper bag and held it out to me. Now eat. You're going to need your strength. I took the bag. Our fingers brushed. The contact sent electricity up my arm, and I wondered if one day would be enough to break me all over again. Or maybe it already had. I pulled the bag open. The smell of fresh pastries hit me. Cinnamon. Sugar. Something warm that made my stomach clench with hunger I'd been ignoring for days. I looked inside. Croissants. A small container of fruit. A chocolate muffin. Jiho picked everything, Seojun said. He has a sweet tooth. Jiho shrugged, but his smile was pleased. Everyone likes chocolate when they're sad. It's science. I almost smiled. Almost. Instead, I took a croissant and bit into it. The flaky pastry dissolved on my tongue. I hadn't realized how empty I was until that first bite. How hollow. Good? Jiho asked. I nodded. Couldn't speak around the food and the sudden tightness in my throat that had nothing to do with swallowing. When was the last time someone brought me breakfast? When was the last time someone paid attention to what I might need instead of what they wanted from me? Hajun leaned against the wall, watching me with those sharp eyes. We should go? Before someone decides we've overstayed our welcome. Seojun grabbed my duffel bag from the corner. I hadn't even noticed it there. This all you have? Yeah. He didn't comment. Didn't ask why everything I owned fit into one small bag. Just slung it over his shoulder like it weighed nothing. We walked out together. Me in the middle. Seojun on my left. Jiho on my right. Hajun trailing slightly behind like he was guarding the rear. The nurses at the station looked up as we passed. One of them smiled. Another whispered something I couldn't hear. The elevator ride down was silent. I focused on the numbers above the door. Watched them descend. 8, 7, 6. Anything to avoid looking at the three alphas surrounding me. Their scents were overwhelming in the confined space. Cedar and smoke and winter rain mixing together until I couldn't tell where one ended and another began. My wolf pressed against my ribs. Restless, curious, wanting. I shoved it down, forced it into the dark corner where I'd been keeping it since Minjun left. The doors opened. Cool morning air rushed in as we stepped into the parking garage. Seattle's gray sky stretched above us through the open levels. Rain threatened but hadn't started yet. Seojun led us to a black SUV parked near the entrance. He opened the back door and gestured for me to get in. I hesitated. "I can still call that cab," I said. "You could," Seojun agreed. "But you won't." Confident. Hopeful. He held my gaze. "There's a difference." I climbed into the SUV. The leather seats were soft, warm. The interior smelled like all three of them, like I was stepping into their den, their territory. Jiho slid in beside me. Seojun took the driver's seat. Hajun sat in the passenger side, angling his body so he could see me in the back. The engine purred to life. We pulled out of the garage and into the streets of Seattle. The city looked different in daylight. Cleaner, less suffocating. Rain started to fall. Light drops against the windshield. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Our place," Seojun said. "North of the city. It's quiet, private." "Your pack territory?" "Something like that." I looked out the window, watched the buildings blur past. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. Pale, tired, haunted by ghosts that wouldn't let go. "Can I ask you something?" Jiho's voice was soft beside me. "You just did." He huffed a quiet laugh. "Fair. Can I ask you another something?" "Depends on the question. What happened with your alpha?" He paused. "Your first one. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But I think it would help us understand." My jaw tightened. "Understand what? Why you're so afraid?" The word hung in the air. Afraid. Like it was something simple. Something I could just name and dismiss. "I'm not afraid," I said. Hajun turned in his seat. "Yes, you are. You're terrified. And that's okay. But lying about it doesn't help anyone." "I'm not lying." "Then what do you call it?" His voice wasn't cruel, just blunt. "You flinch every time one of us gets too close. You look at us like we're going to disappear. Or worse, like we're going to hurt you. Maybe I have reasons for that." "I'm sure you do." Seojun glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "And we want to hear them. If you'll trust us enough to tell us." Trust. Another impossible word. I closed my eyes. The SUV hummed beneath me. Rain pattered harder against the roof. And before I could stop myself, I started talking. "His name was Kang Minjun," I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "We met at a pack gathering 2 years ago. He was everything I thought I wanted. Strong. Steady. He looked at me like I was something precious." Jiho shifted beside me. I felt his attention, all three of them listening. "We bonded after 6 months. I thought it was forever. That's what bonds are supposed to be. Right? Forever." I laughed. But it came out broken. He marked me under a full moon, said he'd never let me go, and I believed him. "What changed?" Seojun asked quietly. "I did. Or maybe I didn't change enough." I opened my eyes, stared at my reflection in the window. He said I felt too much, that loving me was exhausting, that he needed space to breathe, and I was suffocating him just by existing. The SUV went quiet. Even the engine seemed to hold its breath. He asked me to be different. I continued, to need less, feel less, be less. And when I couldn't do that, he left. Just walked out one morning like the 2 years we spent together meant nothing. "That's not your fault," Jiho said. His voice cracked on the last word. "Isn't it?" I turned to look at him. His eyes were wet. Maybe I really am too much. Maybe he was right. "No." Hajun's voice cut through the space like a blade. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He turned fully in his seat, met my eyes with an intensity that stole my breath. "Because anyone who makes you feel like you have to be smaller to be loved doesn't understand what love actually is." Something cracked open in my chest. Something that had been sealed shut for so long, I'd forgotten it was there. "Why do you care so much?" I whispered. "You don't even know me." Seojun pulled the SUV to a stop. I looked out. We were parked in front of a house. Not huge. Not small. Just a home nestled between tall trees. Rain falling soft around it. He turned in his seat. Looked at me with those impossibly steady eyes. "Because 3 weeks ago," he said slowly, "I lost my bonded mate to a car accident. And I know exactly what it feels like when someone is ripped away from you." The air left my lungs. Jiho's voice came next. Quiet. Shaking. "My alpha rejected me when I was 19. Told me I wasn't alpha enough to stand beside him, that I'd always be too soft." Hajun stared straight ahead. His jaw clenched. "And my pack cast me out when I refused an arranged bond. Said I brought shame to my family. I haven't spoken to them in 4 years." I sat there frozen. 3 broken alphas staring back at me with wounds that mirrored my own. "So yeah," Seojun said softly. "We know exactly who you are, Haneul. Because we're you." The words hit me like falling through ice. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the roaring in my ears. 3 alphas who knew loss the same way I did. Who carried scars that looked like mine. Who understood that love didn't always mean safety. "Why didn't you tell me?" My voice came out raw. "Because it wasn't about us," Seojun said. "It was about you. About making sure you knew you weren't alone. But you are alone." I looked between them. "All of you. You lost people too." "We were alone," Jiho corrected gently. "Past tense. Until we found each other. And then, we found you." Rain drummed harder against the roof. The sound filled the silence between heartbeats. "I don't understand," I whispered. "How does that even work? 3 alphas bonding with 1 omega? That's not how it's supposed to go." "Says who?" Hajun turned fully in his seat. "The same pack laws that told me I had to bond with someone I didn't love? The same traditions that said Jiho wasn't good enough because he showed emotion? The same rules that left Seojun alone when his mate died because no one believed an alpha could grieve?" I flinched at the anger in his voice. Not because it scared me. Because it felt familiar. Like my own rage, given a voice. "We make our own rules," Seojun said. His tone was calmer. Grounding. "And our rule is simple. We choose people who choose us back. No hierarchy. No shame. Just honesty." That sounds impossible. So does surviving what you survived. Real. But you're still here. Still breathing. Still fighting. That's not impossible. That's strength. My throat burned. I stared down at where his hand rested against mine. Such a small touch. Barely anything, but it felt like the first piece of solid ground I'd stood on in weeks. "Come inside," Seojun said. "Let us show you that you're safe here, even if it's just for today." I looked up at the house through the rain-streaked window. Warm light glowed from the windows. Smoke curled from a chimney. It looked like something out of a dream. The kind of place I'd imagined having with Minjun before everything fell apart. But this wasn't Minjun. This was 3 broken alphas, offering me shelter in their brokenness. "Okay," I heard myself say. Seojun's eyes softened. Jiho squeezed my hand gently before letting go. Hajun nodded once, sharp and certain. We got out of the SUV. Rain soaked through my hoodie immediately. Cold and relentless. I shivered. Before I could take 2 steps, Seojun draped his jacket over my shoulders. It was too big. Warm from his body heat, smelled like cedar and safety. "You'll freeze," I protested. "I'll survive," he smiled. Small. Genuine. "Come on." We ran through the rain to the front door. Jiho got there first and unlocked it. Pushed it open. Warm air rushed out to meet us. I stepped inside and stopped. The house was beautiful. Not in a perfect way. In a lived-in way. Worn leather couch. Bookshelves stuffed with novels and old photos. A kitchen visible through an archway with dishes in the sink. Blankets draped over chair backs. Everything smelled like them. Like Pak. Like home. My chest ached. "It's not much," Jiho said, shutting the door behind us. "But it's ours. It's perfect," I said, before I could stop myself. Hajun moved past me toward the fireplace, knelt down, started building a fire with practiced efficiency. Seojun disappeared into the kitchen. I heard water running, cabinets opening. Jiho touched my elbow gently. "You're soaked. Let me get you something dry to wear. I have clothes in my bag. Humor me." His smile was soft, almost shy. "Besides, mine will be warmer." He led me down a hallway, opened a door to a bedroom. The space was simple, clean. A bed with too many pillows. A desk covered in notebooks. Photos pinned to the wall above it. "That's my family," Jiho said, following my gaze. "Before everything went bad, I keep them up to remind myself that I tried. That it wasn't my fault when they couldn't accept who I was." I looked closer at the photos. A younger Jiho with his arm around an older man. His father, probably. Both of them, smiling like the world was good. "Do you miss them?" I asked. "Every day." He pulled a sweatshirt and sweatpants from a drawer, handed them to me. "But I can't go back to pretending I'm someone I'm not." Even for them, that must have been hard. It was. He paused in the doorway. "But staying would have been harder. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. Even when it hurts." He left, closed the door behind him. I stood there, holding his clothes. His scent clung to the fabric. Winter rain and something sweeter. Something that made my wolf settle for the first time in days. I changed quickly. The sweatshirt was too big. The sleeves fell past my hands. But it was warm. Soft. I pulled the hood up and breathed in deep. When I came back out, the fire was roaring. Hajun sat on the floor in front of it, knees drawn up. Seojun was in the kitchen still. The sound of something cooking drifted through the house. Jiho appeared with mugs of tea. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the couch. I sat. The cushions were soft, worn in all the right places. Jiho handed me a mug. The heat seeped into my palms. I wrapped both hands around it and stared into the amber liquid. "Chamomile," Jiho said, sitting beside me. Hajun glanced back at us. "You trying to drug him already?" "It's tea, Hyung. Relax." "I am relaxed. You're sitting like you're about to fight someone." Hajun's mouth twitched, almost a smile. He turned back to the fire. I sipped the tea. It was warm, soothing. The tension in my shoulders started to loosen. Just a little. Just enough to remember what it felt like, not to be afraid. Seojun emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray. Soup. Bread. More tea. He set it on the coffee table in front of me. "Eat," he said. Not a command. An invitation. I ate. The soup was rich, hearty, made with care. Each bite settled something inside me. Filled a space I didn't realize was hollow. They didn't push. Didn't ask questions. Just let me exist in their space. Let the fire crackle. Let the rain fall. Let the silence hold us all together. And for the first time since Minjun walked out, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could learn to breathe again. Jiho shifted closer. Not touching, just near. His warmth pressed against my side. Hajun stayed by the fire, but his posture had softened. Seojun sat in the chair across from me, watching with those careful eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" Seojun asked. "For not giving up on me." His expression shifted. Something tender moved through his features. "We won't. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever." And I wanted so badly to believe him. But wanting and believing were two different things. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once. Twice. 3 times in rapid succession. The sound cut through the quiet. like a knife. I froze. My hand instinctively went to my pocket but stopped halfway there. I didn't want to look. Didn't want to know who was reaching out. When I was finally starting to feel like I could breathe. You should check that, Seojun said gently. It might be important. I pulled the phone out. The screen lit up. My stomach dropped. Minjun, we need to talk. Minjun, I know you're with them. Minjun, Haneul, please. This is important. My hands started shaking. The phone nearly slipped from my grip. Jiho leaned closer, concern flooding his face. What's wrong? He's texting me. My voice came out hollow. Minjun, he knows I'm here. Hajun's head snapped up from the fire. What? How would he know that? I looked at Seojun, then Jiho, then Hajun. How would he know where I am? The silence that followed felt like falling. Seojun's expression shifted. Something guilty flickered across his features before he could hide it. That single moment told me everything. You knew. The words tasted like ash. You knew him. You knew who he was. Haneul, let me explain. How long? My voice cracked. How long have you known? Jiho reached for my arm. I jerked away. Stood up so fast the mug of tea toppled onto the table. Hot liquid spread across the wood. No one moved to clean it. Answer me. I was shaking now. Full body tremors that I couldn't control. Did you know who I was before you found me? Before the hospital? Seojun stood slowly. His hands were raised, placating, like I was something wild that might bolt. Yes, we knew. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of the couch to steady myself. Minjun came to us 3 weeks ago, Seojun continued. His voice was careful, too careful. He told us about you, about the bond breaking. He said you were struggling, and he didn't know how to help anymore. So you what? I laughed. It came out broken and sharp. You decided to swoop in and save the pathetic Omega? Make yourselves feel better? By collecting broken things? No. Hajun was on his feet now too. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I turned on him. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you lied to me. All of you. You made me think this was fate. That the scent bond was real. That you actually wanted me. We do want you, Jiho said. He looked devastated. Young, like I just shattered something precious. That part was never a lie. The bond is real, Haneul. I don't know anything anymore. I backed toward the hallway, toward the door, toward escape. Was any of it real? The hospital? The things you told me about your pasts? Or was that just part of the act? Everything we told you was true, Seojun said. He took a step forward. I took one back. Our wounds, our losses, all of it. We didn't lie about that. But you lied about the rest. My voice broke completely. You let me think you didn't know him. You let me believe you found me by accident. We did find you by accident. Hajun cut in. His jaw was clenched, so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Minjun told us about you. Yeah. But he didn't tell us where you were, didn't tell us when you'd collapse, or that you'd try to hurt yourself. We found you, because your scent called to us. That part was fate. Don't. I held up a hand. Don't you dare try to make this sound romantic. You knew I was vulnerable. You knew I was broken, and you used that. We wanted to help you, Seojun said. His voice was rough now, desperate. That's all this was. Minjun said you wouldn't accept help from him, that you needed distance. We thought if we could just show you that you were worth choosing, that someone could see you and not run, maybe you'd start to heal. So I was a project. The words tore out of me. A charity case. Poor broken Omega, who needs 3 alphas to fix him, because he's too damaged to function on his own. That's not what this is. Jiho's eyes were wet. Full of tears he was trying not to shed. You're not a project. You're not charity. You're ours. We want you because of who you are, not because of what happened to you. How can I believe that? I was crying now. Hot, angry tears that blurred my vision. How can I believe anything you say when you built this entire thing on a lie? My phone buzzed again. I looked down. Minjun. They're good men, Haneul. I wouldn't have sent them to you if they weren't. Please give them a chance. Sent them. The words made me want to vomit. He sent you. I looked up at Seojun. Like I'm some package that needs delivering. Some problem that needs solving. It's not like that, Seojun said. But his voice had lost its certainty. Then what is it like? I shouted. The words echoed through the house. Tell me the truth. All of it, right now. Or I walk out that door and you never see me again. The three of them looked at each other. Another one of those silent conversations. Another moment where I was on the outside looking in. Hajun spoke first. His voice was cold. Flat. Minjun reached out to us, because we're known for taking in rejected omegas. Building non-traditional packs. We've done it before. With others. The floor dropped out from under me. Others. The word barely made it past my lips. There were others. Too, Jiho admitted. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Both of them stayed for a while. Both of them left when they were ready. We helped them heal. Find new packs, new lives. So that's what I am. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold the pieces together. Just another broken omega passing through. Another sob story for you to fix before moving on to the next one. No, Seojun moved toward me. I backed into the wall. You're different. What we feel for you is different. The bond is real. The connection is real. How would I know? My voice dropped to a whisper. How would I ever know if what you feel is real or just part of the pattern? Just another omega you couldn't resist saving? Because we love you. The words came from Jiho. Broken. Raw. Real. I love you. And I know it's too soon. I know you don't believe me. But it's true. The confession hung in the air, heavy, impossible. Don't, I breathed. Don't say that. Don't you dare say that to me right now. Why not? Tears tracked down his face. It's the truth. I love you. We all do. That's why this hurts so much. That's why we're terrified we just lost you. I couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. Their scents were suffocating me. The fire was too hot. Everything was too much. I need to leave. I pushed off the wall, started toward the door. Seojun stepped in front of me, not blocking, just there. Please, don't go, not like this. Move. Haneul. I said move. My voice was pure ice. He stepped aside. His expression shattered. I grabbed my duffel bag from where he'd set it by the door. Pulled off Jiho's sweatshirt even though I was still wearing my wet clothes underneath. Let it fall to the floor. Where will you go? Hajun asked. He sounded wrecked, hollow. Anywhere but here. I yanked open the door. Rain poured down. Cold and vicious. I stepped into it anyway. Haneul, wait. Jiho's voice cracked completely. Please. I stopped. Didn't turn around. You should have told me the truth from the beginning. You should have let me choose this. With my eyes open. Instead, you played me. Just like he did. We're not him, Seojun said quietly. We're nothing like him. No. I looked back over my shoulder. Met his eyes one last time. You're worse. Because I almost believed you. I walked into the rain and didn't look back. The rain hit like fists. Cold. Brutal. I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me. Didn't matter. I just kept walking. One foot in front of the other. Away from the house. Away from them. Away from the lie I'd almost let myself believe. My duffel bag grew heavier with each step. Water soaked through the canvas, through my clothes, through my skin until I felt like I was made of ice. I didn't know where I was going. The road stretched ahead. Trees on both sides. No streetlights. No cars. Just rain and darkness and the sound of my own breathing. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it, kept walking. Thunder cracked overhead, the kind that rattled your chest, made your teeth ache. I flinched but didn't stop. How could they do this? How could they look at me with those eyes, say those words, make me feel safe, and have it all be orchestrated, planned, like I was some experiment in rehabilitation? Another omega passing through their hands. My foot caught on something. A root, maybe. Or just my own exhaustion. I went down hard. Knees hit gravel. Palms scraped against wet pavement. The duffel bag tumbled away. I stayed there, on my hands and knees in the rain, breathing hard, shaking harder. This was pathetic. I was pathetic. Running away in the rain like some broken thing that couldn't face the truth. But what was the truth? That they lied. That Minjun sent them. That I was just another project. Or that the bond still burned under my ribs despite everything. That their scent still called to my wolf. That part of me wanted to turn around and run back. I pressed my forehead against the cold ground. Water pooled around my face. Mixed with tears, I didn't remember shedding. "You're too much," Minjun's voice echoed in my head. "I can't keep doing this." And now 3 alphas who claimed they wanted me, who said I was enough, who looked at me like I mattered. But they'd lied, hadn't they? I pushed myself up, sat back on my heels. Rain poured down my face, into my mouth. I could taste it, metallic, real. My phone buzzed again. And again. And again. Rapid fire. I pulled it out. The screen was wet. Hard to read. But I managed. "Jiho, please come back. Jiho, I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Jiho, you're right. We should have told you. But please don't run. Not like this. Seojun, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But you're going to freeze out there. Let us explain. Please. Hajun, I get it. You don't trust us. Fine. But at least let us take you somewhere safe. You can hate us from a warm bed instead of the side of the road." I stared at the messages. Water blurred the words. Or maybe that was my vision. A new message appeared. Different number. "Minjun, they told me what happened. I'm sorry, Haneul. This is my fault. I should have stayed out of it. But I couldn't watch you destroy yourself. I needed to know someone would be there if you fell." My chest constricted. Rage and grief tangled together until I couldn't separate them. "Me, you had no right." The response came fast. "Minjun, I know, but I did it anyway. Because despite everything, I still care about you. Just not the way you needed me to." "Me? Then why send them? Why not just let me go?" "Minjun, because you deserved better than what I could give you. And they can give it, if you let them." I wanted to throw the phone, wanted to scream, wanted to disappear into the rain and never come back. But I was so tired, tired of running, tired of hurting, tired of being afraid that wanting something meant losing it. What if they were telling the truth? What if the bond was real, even if the beginning was orchestrated? What if love could grow from broken foundations? What if I was throwing away the only chance I had at healing because I was too scared to stay? My wolf whimpered, deep inside, where I'd been keeping it locked away. It didn't want to run anymore. It wanted to go back. Wanted cedar and smoke and winter rain. Wanted home. But was that real? Or was I just so desperate for connection that I'd accept anything? Even a manufactured bond designed to fix me? I looked down at my hands, scraped and bleeding, shaking from cold and shock and too many emotions to name. When Minjun left, I'd promised myself I wouldn't let anyone hurt me like that again. Wouldn't open myself up to that kind of devastation. But staying closed meant staying alone. Meant carrying this pain forever. Meant never knowing if something real could have grown from the wreckage. Thunder rolled again. Closer this time. Lightning split the sky. In that brief flash of light, I saw myself reflected in a puddle. Soaked. Broken. Alone. Just like I'd been 3 days ago when I collapsed on that street corner. And where had running gotten me? Back to the same place. Back to the cold and the dark and the emptiness. Maybe Hajun was right. Maybe the bravest thing I could do was choose myself. Not by running away, but by demanding the truth and deciding if I could live with it. I stood slowly. My legs trembled. My whole body screamed in protest. But I turned around. The house was barely visible through the rain. Just a warm glow in the distance. They hadn't come after me. Hadn't chased me down. They were letting me choose. And maybe that was the point. Minjun never let me choose. He decided I was too much and walked away. Didn't ask if I wanted to try differently. Didn't give me the option to change or grow or meet him halfway. But these three alphas had stood in that house and watched me leave. Had let me walk away even though it clearly destroyed them. Because they knew I needed to make this choice on my own. I started walking back. Each step felt like lifting a mountain. But I took them anyway. My phone buzzed one more time. Seojun, the door's open. No matter what you decide. The words broke something in me. Something that had been holding me together through sheer stubbornness. I reached the door. My hand shook as I pushed it open. All three of them stood in the living room. Soaked. Like they'd been standing outside. Waiting. Hoping. Seojun's eyes were red. Jiho's face was streaked with tears. Hajun looked like he'd aged 10 years in the 15 minutes I'd been gone. I'm not okay with what you did, I said. My voice was hoarse. Broken. You lied. And that hurt. But I need to know something. Anything, Seojun said. If Minjun hadn't reached out, if you'd never heard my name, would the bond still have happened? When you found me on that street, would you still have felt it? Yes. All three of them said it at once. Certain. Absolute. The scent recognition was real, Hajun added. We didn't fake that. Couldn't fake that. Your scent called to us like nothing else ever has. Then here's what's going to happen. I stepped fully inside. Let the door close behind me. You're going to tell me everything. No more secrets, no more protecting me from the truth. I want to know why Minjun came to you. What he said, what you agreed to. All of it. Okay, Seojun said. And after that, I'm going to decide if I stay, or if I walk away for good. But this time, it'll be my choice. Based on truth. Not manipulation, not desperation, just the facts. That's fair, Jiho whispered. I looked at each of them, really looked. Saw the fear, the hope. The love they'd claimed was real. I want this to work, I admitted. The words cost me everything. But I can't do it if I don't trust you. And right now, I don't. So you're going to have to earn it back. We will, Seojun promised. However long it takes. I nodded, exhausted, wrung out, but still standing. Then start talking. Seojun gestured to the couch. I sat. They remained standing, like they were waiting for permission to come closer. I didn't give it. Not yet. Minjun came to us 4 weeks ago, Seojun began. His voice was steady but strained. He found us through a mutual contact. Someone who knew about our pack structure. About how we help omegas who've been rejected or cast out. He told us about you, Jiho continued. He sat on the floor near the fire, far enough away not to crowd me. About the bond breaking. About how you'd stopped eating. Stopped leaving the apartment. How he was afraid you'd do something irreversible if someone didn't intervene. And you just agreed? I asked. Just like that? No. Hajun leaned against the wall. Arms crossed. Guarded. We told him to go to hell. Said if he cared so much, he should stay and help you himself. That surprised me. I looked at him. Really looked. Then, why did you change your mind? Because he showed us a picture. Seojun's voice dropped. Of you. And the second I saw it, I felt something shift. Like recognition, before we'd even met. I felt it too, Jiho said quietly. Like I already knew your scent, even though I'd never been near you. That's not possible, I whispered. No, it shouldn't be. Hajun's jaw clenched. But it happened anyway. All three of us felt it. And we knew we had to at least try to find you. Not because, Minjun asked. Because something in us needed to. Seojun moved closer, slowly, knelt in front of me so we were eye level. We agreed to help, but not the way he wanted. He wanted us to approach you directly, introduce ourselves as friends of his. We refused. Why? Because that would have been manipulation, Seojun said. We told him if we did this, it would be on our terms. No contact with him. No manufactured meetings. If we were meant to find you, it would happen naturally. And then you collapsed outside that coffee shop. Jiho's voice was soft, 3 blocks from where we were having lunch. Seojun caught your scent before he saw you fall. I ran. Seojun continued. Didn't even think. Just knew I had to get to you. And when I did, when I smelled you up close, everything clicked into place. The bond wasn't theoretical anymore. It was real. I pressed my hands against my thighs, tried to process. So, Minjun didn't tell you where I'd be? No. He gave us your phone number, your old address. But you'd already left the apartment by then. We had no idea where you were. Hajun pushed off the wall, came closer. Finding you was pure chance, or fate, whatever you want to call it. And the other Omegas you helped? I had to ask, had to know. Were they like me? No. Jiho met my eyes. They were pack members who needed support. Friends who'd been rejected and needed a place to land while they healed. We never felt a bond with them, never wanted to. They stayed a few months and moved on. That's all. But with you, Seojun said, his voice rough with emotion. It was different from the first breath. The bond formed before we even spoke to you, before we knew your name, just from your scent and the way our wolves recognized you. How do I know that's true? The question hurt to ask. How do I know you're not just saying what I want to hear? Because if we wanted to lie, we'd have kept lying. Hajun crouched beside Seojun, both of them looking up at me now. We could have never told you about Minjun. Could have let you believe it was all coincidence. But we didn't. Because you deserve the truth, even when it costs us everything. My throat burned. You should have told me from the beginning. You're right. Seojun's eyes were wet. We should have. We were afraid you'd run if you knew. And we were selfish. We wanted time to show you that we were different, that we wouldn't abandon you like he did. But that wasn't our choice to make, Jiho added, his voice cracked. It was yours, and we took that from you. We're sorry. We're so sorry, Haneul. I looked at all 3 of them, saw the guilt, the fear, the desperate hope that I wouldn't walk away again. And I saw something else, something that looked like the truth. I need you to promise me something, I said. Anything, they answered in unison. No more secrets, ever. Even if you think it'll hurt me. Even if you think I can't handle it, I need complete honesty. That's the only way this works. I promise, Seojun said. I promise, Jiho echoed. You have my word, Hajun finished. I took a shaky breath, let it out slowly. Okay. Okay? Seojun's voice was barely a whisper. I'm not saying I forgive you completely. Not yet. That's going to take time. I looked down at my hands, then back up at them. But I'm saying I want to try. Because despite everything, I feel it too. The bond. The pull. And I'm tired of running from things that might be real. Jiho made a sound. Half sob, half laugh. Relief so pure it was almost painful to witness. Thank you, Seojun breathed. Show me, I said. Don't tell me. Show me. He nodded, stood, held out his hand. I stared at it for a long moment, then placed mine in his. His fingers closed around mine. Warm, solid, real. He pulled me to my feet. Jiho stood too, moved closer. Hajun stayed where he was, but his eyes never left mine. Can I hug you? Jiho asked. His voice was small, hopeful. I nodded. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. Careful. Gentle. Like I was something precious that might break. I stood stiff for a moment. Then, slowly, I let myself lean into it. Let his warmth seep into my cold skin. Let his scent wrap around me. Winter rain. Safety. Home. Seojun moved behind me, his chest pressed against my back. His arms came around both of us. Cedar and strength and promises I wanted to believe. Come here, you stubborn alpha, I heard Jiho say. Hajun huffed, but he moved, completed the circle. His arms joined the others. Smoke and fire and fierce protection. All three of them holding me, holding each other. A tangle of limbs and scents and beating hearts. And for the first time since Minjun walked away, I felt whole. I'm scared, I admitted, my voice muffled against Jiho's shoulder. So are we, Seojun said against my hair. But we'll figure it out, Hajun added. Together. Together, the word settled into my chest, made a home there. I pulled back slightly, looked at each of them. I don't know how this works. 4 people, 1 bond. How do we even begin? Slowly, Seojun said. He cupped my face with both hands. His thumbs brushed across my cheekbones. We start with trust, build from there. And if I mess up, my voice was small. If I'm too much again, then you're too much. Jiho smiled through his tears. And we'll love you anyway, because that's what you do when someone is yours. You don't ask them to be smaller, you just love them bigger. Something inside me cracked wide open. All the walls I'd built, all the armor I'd worn. It shattered. And, instead of feeling exposed, I felt free. I want to try the bond, I whispered. Not today, not right now, but soon, when I'm ready, when I trust that this is real. Whenever you're ready, Seojun promised. We'll wait, even if it takes months, even if it takes years. I believed him. For the first time, I actually believed. Hajun's hand found mine, squeezed gently. You're not alone anymore. You know that, right? I nodded. Couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. Say it, he pressed, not unkindly. Say you're not alone. I'm not alone, I managed. Again. I'm not alone. Stronger this time. One more time. I'm not alone. And this time, I believed it. Jiho laughed. Bright and genuine. Good. Because we're never letting you go. Never, Seojun agreed. Not a chance, Hajun finished. I looked at the 3 of them. My 3 alphas. Broken like me. Healing like me. Choosing me, like I was choosing them. And I thought maybe, just maybe, this was what love was supposed to feel like. Not perfect. Not easy. But real. Raw. Honest. Worth fighting for. Take me to bed, I said. Then quickly added, just to sleep. I'm exhausted. They smiled. All 3 of them, like I'd just given them the world. Seojun scooped me up. I should have protested. Should have said I could walk. But I was tired. So tired. And being carried felt like safety. He took me to a bedroom. Not Jiho's. A different one. Bigger. The bed was massive. Big enough. For 4. He set me down gently. Jiho appeared with dry clothes. Helped me change. Turned away when I needed privacy. Respected every boundary without being asked. When I was dressed in soft sweatpants and a clean shirt, I climbed into bed. The mattress was perfect. The blankets smelled like all 3 of them. They stood at the door, waiting. Stay, I said. Relief flooded their faces. They climbed in. 1 on each side. Hajun at my back. A protective wall of warmth and strength and promises kept. Sleep, Seojun murmured. We'll be here when you wake up. I closed my eyes. Let their heartbeats sync with mine. Let their scents fill my lungs. Let myself believe that maybe broken things could be put back together if you had the right people helping you hold the pieces. And as sleep pulled me under, I felt it. The bond. Not complete. Not marked. But there. Growing. Strengthening. Real. Thank you. I whispered into the dark. For what? Jiho's voice was drowsy. Content. For choosing me. 3 voices answered as one. Soft. Certain. Mine. Always.